will call us to order then at 5:30, 5:32, whatever it is.
5:31.
Yeah. And do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
I just have two things to be added to the agenda that we can certainly do under new business. The Putney Co-op came in, they're expanding and they need increase in allocation of water and sewer. They need the official letter that says it won't impact us and they're welcome to do it. I have to figure out the allocation fees and get them to pay them, and then we'll consider it approved if the board so deems. I'd like to do that probably under new business item E. And then new business again, item F. I have for the board's review, but no decision tonight, a proposal from Revise, a website design group that has reached out to us for redesigning our website. This was something we do have budgeted. However, when looking at the numbers presented by Revise, they basically asked how much money was left in the budget and said they'd do it for that. I'm not sure that's necessarily the best way to do it. So I want to add those as new items. Then anything else we'll talk about during the meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Well, let's participate in an appreciation dinner.
Before we
You don't see that word very often, right?
Before we can do the minutes. All right,
All right,
we're good. A slight recess.
a slight recess, and we'll be back to business. Have some pizza.
Yes, I
If I'd known that, I would tell her to come down and meet with me.
But this is Buzzy's, best pizza in town. There's a beautiful salad.
Beautiful.
And there's what you want.
I'm sorry. Chip. Yeah.
Very nice. Yes.
Thank you all very much. That was very kind of you.
Yeah.
See if we can
And very tasty.
earn those.
So we must hurry before others fall asleep.
All right.
I have to leave early, so.
Well, then let us breeze through this.
Okay.
I'm looking for an approval of the minutes of September 27th.
So moved. And
Second.
I will comment that they are very thorough and very good minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do have one just,
Sorry.
It's okay.
We're on word management.
no, it's the last page, highway department employee, under that section. I think Josh Laughlin had a separate conversation with Brian. Let's see, right in the middle.
Yep.
Conversation, right? Yeah, that.
Yep.
Conservation?
Conservation.
Good catch.
That's
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, no problem. That's-
See, I read what I wanted to read because it's the same thing.
Next page. Oh, yeah, there we go.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of September 27th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Business.
Uh,
We want
Public
to
comment.
go to B, to public comment.
On anything,
Anything not on the agenda that anyone wants to weigh in about?
Sure. Hi, I'm Laura Casey, and I think that Laura Chapman may have recently told you that the Putney Huddle was coming up with a cheat sheet for town meeting on Robert's Rules of Order, and so I've been working with Meg Mott, the moderator, to come up with something that she felt worked with the rules, and after a lot of research and some changes, we think we have something that we feel good about presenting. It's just a one-page back-to-back. It actually has two, but we're going to get rid of that one extra website that we have included in there. And so it's just a summary of the most basic parts of the procedure. It's not meant to cover everything, the things that come up most often at town meeting, including why we use Robert's Rules of Order. And we thought this might be helpful because people frequently ask about it, and there are always points of order coming up at town meeting. Does that sound?
The more people come prepared, the better off we all are, and the quicker business moves along. You know, there's a lot of time taken up in just sort of explaining how
Right.
the amendment gets passed through.
Exactly.
And if you have to explain it each time, that I think this would be a great thing to have, you know, pop right into the town report at town meeting, and people will be able to.
I will email that to you.
As a Word document.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, and appreciate your efforts. Hope it actually gets read.
If not, it can be referred to.
Okay.
Yeah.
It certainly can be by the moderator.
As you will see in your cheat sheet.
If anyone has a question about how to second an amendment.
All right.
Pass that to Karen. Karen,
yeah,
I will.
We,
Very much.
move A and B on
You
new
sure
business.
can do
Let's move
as
the
you
mark
go
up.
through.
We've been waiting very patiently, and I know you gotta get rolling, so. What have you got?
Okay, 16 years ago, well, 17 years ago, when we moved up to Signal Pine, my wife and I, Mark Zeiter, I live 37 Signal Pine, I had Mike Foster draw up a plan to tie my house into the Putney sewer system, tying in front of Margaret Tarmey's house. And that plan called for changing all of the cleanouts from Margaret's house further down into manholes. I had the plan approved by the town, but looking at it, it's just going to be too expensive to do. You know, it's going to be about $90,000, $10,000 a manhole. So we figured we'd limp along with the septic system that we had. In the meantime, I looked into it, and Michael had told me he put manholes in because the state required it, and it turned out the state didn't actually require it. So our septic system has pretty much lived its life at this point, and I've got to tie into it, and I had Michael Marcuse draw me up a plan. And his plan didn't call for changing the manholes out. And that plan got approved by the board, the select board. The new plan. The original one was approved in 2001, but I went before the water, it was the water allocation board, and it was approved by the allocation board. And then there was a conflict with my neighbor because the line was through his front yard. And we had a meeting, he and I, Junior was there, Rod Paymeyer was there, and we discussed how we could tie in without putting a manhole in his front yard. And so in that discussion, there was quite a bit of discussion about how the lines would get cleaned out if there was a clog, and where the manholes should go to allow cleaning out using the existing cleanouts that were in the line. And there was no discussion about needing to change them over to manholes. And so I thought I was moving ahead, but then Chip pulled out the 2001 approval, which showed all of the manholes. And the problem is that at this point, the board hasn't approved the plan that doesn't call for replacing the manholes. So I had Michael Marcuse draw up and add to the existing plan explicitly stating that the plan does not call for changing the existing line from in front of Pete's house down to the bottom of Signal Pine Road. Do you have that on your?
Right here in this section is where it says no further changes below this line.
Downstream from this point. And that line is already, where is the existing to? It comes to there?
Comes right in
Okay.
front, yeah.
Which is where? Right in front of, that's right in front of,
Right in front of Pete, what's his last name?
Yeah, that's the Tarmy's the one who put the
Yeah,
line.
it's right in front of
Right in front of
Tarmy's.
Margaret Tarmey's
Yeah,
house.
yeah.
The line is actually, the town's right away is actually in Pete's front yard. And there's a clean out right there, right in front of Pete's front yard, and the plan is to extend the line to the other side of his driveway and put the manhole there instead of in his front yard. And we had a pretty lengthy discussion. Chip has a lot of knowledge about how far they had to be and where you can get cameras down, things like that. And there was general agreement. Junior was here, we were all discussing it. There was general agreement that it would be adequate in the event that there was a clog. The existing cleanouts would be adequate to allow access to clean it out. So I'm here to essentially get approval of the plan that you have in your hands so that we can move ahead with it.
And remind me, when you came the first time, you were not including Rod and Cynthia in the plan, right?
Not at that time.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
In fact, when Margaret put the line in, Rod and I and Matt Mills paid the difference to put in a 6-inch line instead of a 4-inch line.
Up to that point.
Up to that point,
For
so
that
for future connection, yeah. So that was kind of the intention all along, that line would be available for other people to tie into.
So, anything about this state, I mean, I'm assuming that if Michael Marquis designed it, it's up to,
Well, he took it to the state and got state approval.
it's already got that approval,
Yes.
yeah.
So the pieces of the puzzle, the 6-inch line that was put in by Tarmy and paid for again by the other three who participated, is a private line, and even when they connect, will remain a private line. So from our standpoint, the connection fee, allocation fee is all we need to collect. We really, in this, don't have a say in the design.
Okay,
But they will be crossing our right of way and giving us, and we don't have right now, the town of Putney doesn't issue working right of way permits or anything like that. There's not gonna be an easement issued by us that I can see for any of this information. So this line, when done, will remain a private line from the manhole at the bottom of the hill all the way up through.
which means if there's a problem, it's maintained by the
It's them.
joint owners.
Yes, yes. If it was to ever be taken over, the new regulations for wastewater are, it has to be a minimum of an 8-inch line. So, that, you know, in 2001, 6 was fine,
Right.
but now it's 8, so
So if you take it over, does it need to be changed?
It would
Or
have to be
doesn't get
changed.
grandfathered in as
No.
being, no.
no. And that would be a standard now. So anything that we're gonna take over is gonna be an 8-inch line.
And it's already existing 6-inch.
It's existing 6, intentionally designed when Tarmy put it in for the future expansion that is now here.
Right, but now an 8-inch line.
So in 2001, it was very explicitly laid out what the conditions for connection were. So in my opinion, the board at that time had set what had to happen. Conditions have changed both at the state level and now here. That this board would have to acknowledge that they are dismissing the 2001 decision and what had to happen to connect, and allowing the connection under these conditions to take place now.
And the most basic difference in that is the location of the manhole, is that correct?
Is removal of 5
Yeah,
or
the
6
original
manholes.
plan called for all of the cleanouts coming up Signal Pine to be replaced by manholes,
Yes.
which is what put it beyond what it
Yeah.
And would that be required in now? I mean,
If you
if this were a town, would there have to be manholes that often or not?
Yeah, the manholes are basically because the pipe itself has 22s and 45s in it to go up that hill. And so everywhere where there's a turn, you
There's
can't get
supposed
a
to be
camera
manhole.
through.
Yeah,
And so you change that to a structure so you can drop a camera in it and move to be able to view it.
and the
So it's a-
cleanouts do not count for
They
that?
allow you to run a jetter through it to clean it, but not a camera.
Not a camera.
And some jetters wouldn't even go through on a 22 angle, so. So from our standpoint, as a town, you'll never take over this line.
Right, that's what we're agreeing.
You'll never take over this line. So it's a private line from that structure that it tied into as a 6-inch, all the way up through to all the owners. And so from Charmian, I can't think of the guy's name, who owns it now.
Pete,
Oh,
he's the lead guitarist of Devil Lake Street. It's his band. Very successful band. He's on tour right now.
So the question that was brought up to me was whether or not the other three, when they connect, need written easements to connect to a privately owned line, which is not owned by the town.
The other three being,
Painmeyer, Zeiter, and whoever's now further up on the hill, the fourth connection.
which is not proposed to be included in
Connection's
this.
Matt Mills.
Matt Mills.
Right.
It's not proposed.
That's not proposed to be included in this
It
anyway.
is, no, right now it's.
Right now it's not.
It's Ron and myself.
So would there be, or is there already, by the nature that you paid and contributed to that 6-inch line, do you have rights to use it within, it's owned by the property that put it in, but if you paid, did you pay for the ability to connect to it in the future? Is it clear that you have rights to connect to it? This board cannot give you rights to connect to somebody
that.
else's private line.
Right. This is Pete's line, right?
It goes with the house.
To the house. His
But if
line.
you could, that's where I don't know
Yeah.
if when it was installed, the agreement with other neighbors existed that gave you rights to it when you needed it.
I'm pretty sure we did, because I don't think I just gave her the money.
I hope-
Here you go.
I hope not.
I do recall there being something written up, but
Yeah. So from what this board doesn't want to present is in any way giving you authorization to connect to somebody else's pipes.
Sure.
So, yes, you can connect. How you get it into our manhole is up to you.
Okay.
But by no means do we give you the right to connect to someone else's lines. And this is outside of our ownership. And so from this board standpoint, what was originally issued in 2001 needs to be dissolved and authorized to connect.
But really, all we're authorizing is use of the capacity.
Use of capacity,
Okay. Because,
which is also a connection fee. He's connecting to a private line, so do we get a connection fee because he's connecting to a private line? I think we do. But you may have already paid that in 2001.
I don't
Did
know.
you pay a connection fee in 2001? Because you applied.
If you can prove it, we'll take your word for it.
You didn't look in the treasurer's office, and that check may still be there.
Yeah.
Oh my God, huh? How much we digress? So, and that's, from the time that I got this, which was Monday from Michael, I started trying to pursue the means by which we have or don't have rights and responsibilities for this activity. And the only concern we can show is that the manhole structure is gonna be right at the end of the pavement within the town road right of way, that it is at a, I think Brian said once it buried like 6 inches below the
Appropriate
gravel,
depth.
Yeah, he wants.
so that it can be graded, but
Plows
not be
catch on it.
caught on it all the time. And then it's still accessible, and it will be a privately owned structure in the road. So. And the whole purpose of that structure is really so that if something does happen, you can tell, is it below you or above you? To visually be able to know you can get in, just opening the cover is gonna tell you a lot.
Yeah.
So, that's the information I picked up.
So we've already approved the allocation for it, haven't
It
we?
was approved in 2000,
The allocation was approved this,
Recently, right? Last,
November
whenever you
of
were last
16.
in.
yeah.
I found a letter in November of 16.
Yeah, I mean, you came
Last
in,
year.
yeah, and I think we approved that allocation
That's correct.
contingent upon engineering or something, I can't
Right.
remember
At that
exactly
point, all I
what
had
it
was
was.
this, I had a very basic sketch from Michael. This is this,
Right.
I had this very basic
Yeah.
sketch.
Yeah. And the only, and one other thing that came up during that meeting was I read Gourmet Kitchen, so I suggested we better have a grease trap. But it's a private line, so it's totally up to you.
Well, I'm looking at the grease traps, a few $100s.
Yeah.
That's probably a worthwhile investment, I would think.
For
Yeah.
$1,500 for a jetter, yeah.
Yeah.
So, so the only thing that determined was the rules in 2001, a 6-inch line was adequate.
Right.
The rules in 2017, 8-inch line is minimum for municipal sewer main.
So again, that really doesn't pertain to
Yes.
us in this situation because it's privately owned. So is there any action we need to actually take or not?
It doesn't sound like it now. If you in 16 already approved his connection, his
We should just
allocation.
double check that. I mean, that would be in the minutes
In the
from
minutes.
whenever that was. I don't know whether you, Mark, have the date of that by any chance, but.
But it was, I did come before you.
We definitely talked about it. I think we,
And it was a good idea.
remember, but.
Let me see.
When are you gonna start, Jim?
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, before the
Before
ground
snow.
freezes.
Right?
Back goes right outside now.
I didn't know I had to give a date.
Does the board feel they need to comment on the 2001 decision that was made? That now is no longer even relevant?
That would make any comment we made rather irrelevant, wouldn't it?
I mean, I guess it's,
I mean,
not knowing what the reasoning was for why they required it to be that way and didn't, I guess it would be hard to know whether if somebody had presented this drawing and said, this is how we want to do it, whether they would have said yes or no at that time. I don't know.
Well, the connection was very explicitly laid out with 5 items.
Right.
And those items were very detailed, including that if you were gonna connect, you had to do the following things. That board, 16 years ago, made that decision, so in the public record, that'll be reflected, and then it's not that this board sees that now as needing to be retracted in lieu of this design. Approving 2 different projects that are the same project,
Yeah, 16 years apart though.
understand?
So, yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. It's just,
change at the state level, that's, obviously.
Yeah.
well, I don't,
I don't know that the manhole structures were actually required back then.
Exactly, that's what I don't think we can, I don't think we can
I think
accurately
Michael
know.
Michael Foster was being overly conservative.
Overly conservative.
Yeah. I mean,
Which probably wasn't a bad thing, but,
Well, and at the time, a camera was this,
right,
this big in 2001.
and now it's the end of a piece of
Now,
paper.
They can
They
stick
can stick a camera around any of those corners.
Through anything,
with a
yeah,
fiber,
No
just a
problem.
fiber line.
exactly. No,
Yeah, it's
it's
just
nothing to
Got a cable that big. And,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, they go around, I'm not sure they can get around a 90, but 45s and 22s,
22s.
yeah, they don't have any trouble with that.
Yeah.
Same with a jetter, they can jet elbows now.
So,
I don't have a problem with it.
I do not either.
I mean, I guess, really your question is whether we need to abandon the previous plan.
acknowledge that in 2001, a decision was made and it's not gonna be followed today in 2017.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3 and 30.
Well, thank you very much.
So glad we have this time together.
Appreciate your time.
That's right. Get that in the ground before they change the rules again. Right?
See ya.
Thank you.
See you, June.
Grab a cupcake on the way out if there ain't.
Yeah.
Well,
That's wild.
Errors and omissions.
all right, there was a letter provided by the listers. On the top of that letter is filled out form, which is the standard error and omissions. This is a single property in which they gave credit for 2 water, 2 sewer systems, and there's only 1 on the property. It is a change in the grand list as a result of errors and omissions as opposed to homestead declarations and such that happen that the board does no longer have to approve. We do need to approve this one. They'll make the change. There'll be a revised bill sent out. Does require the signature of a majority of the board and a motion to accept the errors and omissions as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second to accept the errors and omission certificate dated, no. there's
You'll
a
date
specific
yours
date on
today.
it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, it is dated 10/11, yeah.
Okay, that was- that was-
Yeah,
So 3 signatures on that.
yeah.
And the listers will then take action. It is a document that gets part of the permanent grand list and recorded in the clerk's office.
There's more detail on the back.
Yeah. yeah.
That's up to you.
Okay. So, next item we have,
All right, we have
there's a.
Town of Brookline.
Town of Brookline.
Yeah,
So-
briefly.
As happens in the world of municipalities who happen to be neighbors, there is often this arrangement that has been undocumented, happening for years. And the conditions now have actually changed such that it should become documented and transparent. So I got a phone call, I got this follow-up letter. I just want the board to know that we probably should have a signed agreement between the select board here and the select board in Brookline that says this is what we do. And there's nothing to be, cautious about. They basically end up paying us the amount of the property tax bill. And we provide highway services to a couple hundred feet of road, I guess.
Yeah.
It's been that way for years, and it's just one of those unwritten rules.
And, well, we've had this discussion a
Yeah.
handful of times in the past, so, I think I might have asked this question the last time around, but I'm assuming it's just for the purpose of accounting that we pay the bill and then they pay us, as opposed to just having an agreement that says you forgive the taxes and we agree to.
So let's play the game and forgive the taxes. It's called an abatement,
Right,
which calls
And then
for
they
a
have
board of
to-
civil authority, which means you gotta have one of 5 specific reasons, and we don't meet any of them.
any of them.
So, it is a function of accounting that, as Deep Throat said, follow the money. So
Yeah.
we pay them, they pay us,
And
absolutely.
then it's all clean.
And the other thing is that by entering into an agreement, should some transaction happen while we are on their road, we have an agreement that we are on their road. And so insurance is clear. We both probably have the same insurance carrier. And so that's really the reason to entering into the contract, is a clear, we know we are working on your roads, and we know you are paying us in this way.
And do we have that contract with Westminster, where we do that?
I'm gonna venture that probably we don't,
Yeah.
because Westminster is in the budget for us to receive, I don't know, $3,000.
50,000, yes.
But it's always been just past practice, so the same thing, in this case, it came in a formal letter. That makes it a good open document to say, okay, let's do this right. So I can entertain Mr. Hodgkins about such an agreement. I'm not sure what the
Is that
practice is.
Windmill Hill, I mean?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I would also just say we should make sure, I'm assuming, because this is the way we've been doing, that it's equitable for both sides, or, viable on both sides.
Should
But,
do a calculation and find out.
exactly,
I'll ask Brian.
exactly, for both Westminster and for Brookline, and then think about doing contracts for both of them, I would think would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. I think so.
So I'll take it by consensus to continue and come back with some contracts. All right, good.
Make sure those contracts are good for us, too. We're in the Trump era here, make Putney great again.
We keep them in all rates.
It'll be a beautiful deal.
Did I just hear a missile go overhead?
All right, town hall.
Moving right along.
I thought you were the one that wanted to get out of here quickly. All right, Putney Fire, no,
So-
the town hall maintenance?
Total maintenance.
What do we got?
What do we have? So, 2 weeks ago, gave you a list of items that were noticed by VLCT Wade and Shore for loss prevention.
Yeah.
In walking around and looking at said items, we really don't have a vendor that we've ever hired on a regular basis to perform these types of tasks that I can see. I have picked up that Cole Streeter had been here and done carpentry work during the reign of Cynthia, if this really rain was a good word. But no one's done electrical work
That might have even been prior to Cynthia, that Chris might have gone back to,
Mm.
Cynthia was working here, I can't remember.
Maybe she was working there, but
I think Homestead has also done work here. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember. And then Sepka's
So-
done a bunch of stuff.
so, the type of work is not necessarily something you'll put an RFP out for in my mind and try to go out for bidding and whatnot. It's a bunch of small tasks specifically oriented towards loss prevention. And if we've got someone that is familiar with this building already, that is a much better buy than trying to go out and solicit bids. So what is the board's pleasure about trying to get preferably a local vendor who pays taxes in Putney, and securing one to come in and address these issues that need to be dealt with?
That would be a good idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure who, we run into if it's a sole proprietor, we run into the
Insurance stuff.
the workers' comp issue.
But
which-
that can be addressed, either they have it or they don't. If they don't,
Then we can't hire, right,
Then-
exactly. So,
yeah.
it's gonna be a limited number of people who
Available.
do business in Putney who are gonna be interested and or available,
Yeah.
exactly. So whether we,
Want me to use my discretion
um,
as property maintenance responsible as manager in position? I also consulted with the library to see who they've been using, because they've had minor stuff, because they're a much newer building. But likewise, they have an electrician they use regularly that they pay for, and then their carpentry work is done pretty much volunteer.
What about the fire station and?
I don't know that we have anybody that's really a regular. I mean,
And the idea, what I had available in my previous employment was a highway staff member who was just gifted and talented.
right.
We don't have that.
Well, we've got plenty that are gifted and talented. It just
Not in
happens that they're
carpentry and electrical work.
Well, I imagine,
I'm trying to think, Brian Ames, I would imagine, carries.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of names of people who might be available and
Brian,
live in Putney.
Brian actually is
I guess I'm not
I don't know
familiar
whether
too, but I have to
Brian-
be.
What's that?
A master electrician in
They'd
Vermont
be
or something
licensed.
like this?
Licensed to work in a public building.
Mhm.
And I have access,
Yeah.
ones that I've used in
Mhm.
Rockingham that I can call upon.
Yeah.
And there's ones in Brattleboro, I can call Brattleboro Town Office who they use, Dummerston. Yeah, the key is that the items in question need to be responded to to VLCT. So I just want to make sure that we have something lined up.
And what's our time frame? Or our time frame, as long as they're scheduled, then it's
As long as we have a plan.
a little negotiable.
Yeah, they're not harping at us, other than some of these events took place, now 5 months ago, and nothing's happened, so, we've been put on notice, and I've been communicating with Wade and Shore directly saying, all right, what do you need from
We're
us,
working through it,
and
yeah.
let's get this done.
Yeah.
Would it be worth trying to advertise somehow, even through local iPutney or
Well,
town or something, and just lay out the conditions?
The scope,
The
yeah.
scope, and,
a little bit,
who
very
knows?
generic scope.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just come, if you wanna know what this, come in and read these
Come on
things.
in.
but
come on in and
I
talk
don't
to
wanna
us.
publicize what it is.
right, yeah, yeah, well, that, and then also, what's
Here's your
required.
camera, here's your manhole.
You know,
Yeah.
and insurance and,
Yeah.
license and licensure and stuff like that, so.
Yeah.
Because you never know, at least we can say that we're advertising.
Yes, yes. He acknowledges that we've acknowledged we have this situation. And then I just couldn't find it where we had historically hired someone in this building to perform such tasks for us. It's just been there and kind of been running along that way. If you can't tell, there's a couple things changed in the last couple of days here, so we're making progress. So I will pursue it out that way, and see if I can first locate businesses that are in Putney that can provide that service, and then come up with a scope and ask somebody to post it on iPutney. and see what we get for responses.
Anybody who's a licensed electrician in Putney, but is Terry Short in Putney? I don't think he is he?
He's Dummerston.
That's what I would
Yeah.
thought, yeah. I can't think of anybody in Putney, but I may just be blanking. I don't know.
Then, we talked last meeting about the front doors
Yes,
and
I
specs and whatnot.
I have not explored that yet, so
Okay,
remind me, and we'll do that.
okay.
Scott looked into some of the historical features, so we do seem to have some leeway in how we, Scott was saying that an early picture shows it with two large solid doors, the full height with no light above.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So those would have been big doors, yeah.
The turn of the 20th century, early 1900s.
Clive
I
Davis
certainly, yeah, exactly. I wouldn't think we would,
return.
No,
Consider returning to that.
but as I said, we must have made the hallway incredibly dark in
Yeah.
there and gritty.
yeah.
And there's another photo I saw from 1956. These were the doors.
56.
They were probably
I
pretty
would not-
spanking new at that point, I
Right,
would
yes,
guess.
yes.
Just,
You know,
These are
it's
some-
it's a snapshot in front of it. It's, you
Yeah.
can't, there's no detail or anything, but if it isn't exactly those two doors, it was
Close.
something close, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if those doors may date to then, 1950s.
Somewhere in that range,
1950s,
40s,
yeah.
50s, yeah.
Right after the war.
Yeah, a little bit of money came in for
Um,
I have not, Lisa is away this week and I was working elsewhere last week, so, but I can, because that's what I was planning on doing, was just touching base with her to see whether she had an opinion about it and then go from there, so I will do that.
So one of the methodologies that I used, instead of a complete spec, for example, that says they gotta be thermo-true doors.
Right.
I just spec that I need doors replaced with fire breakout handles on them and whatever other features, requirements I want. And I never name a make, model, year, if you will, or a manufacturer. And then if you are requesting proposals, then anybody can provide what they provide, and you're intentionally not comparing apples to apples. You're looking at features and quality points of what you want to install. So lowest bid is not necessarily the bid, because product quality you can ascertain.
Right.
And asking someone to provide a product that's specific means you're going to get pricing according to that.
Right. No, and or the other way to do it is to, say thermo-true or equivalent, and
Specify.
something,
You're right.
thinking that route, but I
Or
think
similar-
very basically it's a question of whether.
Or similar quality.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, whether we want to go necessarily with insulated doors versus a wooden door, I don't know. It adds a little R value beyond that.
A little, in this barn.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
So-
Like having a tight door
Yeah.
on a leaky
Yeah.
build.
Yeah.
No, start somewhere. So the process then, and I didn't know whether or not you might try to do this, Josh, is you actually come up with what you'd like and inquire with people, direct suppliers, vendors, whatever people would do the work, and obtain from them
An opinion of
an opinion and or a quote to do it.
Right, some prices too.
Yeah.
Because quite often, I think you're gonna find it's a lot easier to work with people you work with
Right.
than to generally put it out there and, somebody shows up from Canterbury and says, yeah, his lowest price, great stuff.
Right, yeah.
So, I
No,
haven't-
we're on the same page on that.
good, because basically you can come in and with a comparison done in an opinion. But that, I think, is at this point, we are fighting to open the door with the moisture in the morning.
It's been good.
That's amazing that hasn't changed yet, considering it's halfway through October.
Right. Just stand out there for a few hours a day with a hairdryer and blow some heat on it.
Well, we just turn up the heat inside and hope it goes out.
That one will. It will.
All right, we added an item,
Yes, co-op water and sewer
Co-op water and sewer.
I'm sure you guys can get it here on my son.
So,
See ya.
Thank you. Let's see, warrants, you need a signature on any warrants?
yes. Do you have those, or I have those? I'm sure I have those. So there's
You
one,
have,
2, 3, just make sure this is. Yes, so warrant. That is payroll, warrant.
should have 3, right?
And warrant, yeah. Yeah. The, is that, which one? 8B, so the big one in there is $94,000 for paving. That's why that's a high warrant.
Tax. 2007 oh, that's the payment.
Yes.
4 tons of asphalt, yep. Right. All right, good. So, yeah, let's think that, well, Lisa's going this week, so I can't talk to her until next week, but otherwise, I'll talk to her next week. All right.
I'll take those on Monday.
So, thank you all. Have a
See
good
ya.
night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
So, relative to the Putney Co-op, it has a zoning application in for the DRB to review on the 17th. Also within, they are an Act 250 permitted site project, and so they're required to go through and apply for updated allocations for both water and wastewater, which will increase their allocation from 2,100 gallons a day to 2,700 gallons a day. And the fees associated with that, near as I can tell, is $100 for water to apply with a no per gallon assessment. But for wastewater, the ordinance is written that there's a connection fee of $1,500 per ERU for your allocation with a minimum of 1 ERU. They pre-exist, they're already connected. So what's the allocation fee? In my opinion, interpreting that, it's going to be 600 gallons divided by 250 gallons per ERU, and they need to pay 36,600, or 3660, which is 2.4 ERUs. So my recommendation is that in light of the fact that they are an expanding business, and what I've seen in the records is that a water fee has been paid of $100, a sewer allocation adjustment has been paid for $50 in the past, and that we waive the allocation ERU equivalency because they're an expanding business, and we want that to happen. And so I would like them to simply pay $150, get their updated allocation letter, submit to the state, and move forward with their $300,000 expansion.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me.
I don't see why we would, other than, I mean, are we generating a precedent here where everyone's starting a new business or expansion of their
Right out
business?
back here, P&B Commercial Holdings, 2 weeks ago, he did the same thing.
Okay. Then we have our precedent.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, well, no, that's,
Yep. So that's, my reasoning behind it is it's a wonderful thing that they are expanding the community. So that will generate immediately every quarter additional ERUs of billing on wastewater. So they're gonna be paying
they're
that.
paying into the system, yeah. Yeah, seems workable. Do we need an action on that?
Yes, because you have to approve the change in allocation from 2,100 to 2,700 and supply the letters as required by Act 250. So moved.
So,
All right.
yes.
And we will second that, or I will second that, I guess. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Beautiful
the
hike.
water's for eyes.
So, I have for you, which I should have given to Josh before he left, Revise. This is a government-oriented website development software company. Within your budget, you have already budgeted a certain amount of money to try to improve your website and to improve your email services. So, on page 36 of this document, you will see the pricing schedule. It is my intention to provide you this information and tell you that there are others in the business as well, and that this was presented after discussion about how much we budgeted, how much we had left in the budget, and you will see that there is a redundant annual fee of $1,800 in this proposal. And so the setup, the conversion and whatnot, they've basically given away. But this would be $1,800 a year to have your website. Town of Putney has been used to paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $156 to have your website maintained and your email maintained. And the reality is you get what you pay for. And in the newest designs, there's a lot more pictures and a lot less words. They are also designed to be seen and managed well on a smart device. And our website is not that way. Our email is very limited in its capacity to manage spam, junk mail, so it all passes through. And so, in such, we end up with a lot of stuff in our inboxes that is unnecessary. So this doesn't even address trying to update the email. This is just website design and future cost of a managed site. There are others that are in the business. The most common one that I know is used in the state is GovOffice, which I haven't even approached.
Does it need to be a specific type to do a government website? or-
No, it's just people get expertise. I mean, it's why you will find electricians who love to do, three-phase, and other electricians who love to do residentials only.
Right.
So,
Because I guess it seems like these days, there's so many people that are getting into website design.
I
Could be
reached
people
out
that are locally.
to, I think her name was Megan McCarthy, who did the library's website,
Oh,
and didn't get a response, because I inquired directly, do you host, will you design, and
Mhm.
both email and a website, because I know they used her, she's local,
Right.
and they have what I would call a classy website,
Mhm.
not a bunch of flowery hopscotch all over it. So, this, just like the iWork queue, they wanted a presentation done to the board, and they prepared
Here.
36 pages, or 72 pages, whatever that is, and provided pricing based on conversation. Just in your forefront, to be able to look this over and think about what it is that this community wants. And then we'll have to budget accordingly if you expect to try to maintain a much higher level of website than you have now.
Yeah.
And regrettably, the thing that everything needs to tie into is Twitter and Facebook. And I'm sure you probably have not adopted a policy of social media and its use and its representation in Putney town government. And so VLCT again will tell you you need to adopt one, and then you need to manage the crisis before it is a crisis. So that's why I just wanted to give you this, and some morning coffee. There are websites here that are live websites you can actually see that they've designed, and they're nice.
Right.
As well, one of the things that works on websites is photos, and one of the things that requires is a digital camera. And one of the things that requires is a person to do with the digital photography, upload and modify the website. Website management is basically documents for us. That's it. And we can do that. But if you get into a more elaborate Go office, I was the web manager. I was part of the design team when Rockingham and Bells Falls redid theirs. So it takes time if you actually want to get involved and design one.
Right.
So
Yeah, I can see ways around the web design business. Email's a totally different thing
different.
now, and especially these days with security and whatnot. 'Cause I imagine the more that everything here digitizes, there's I don't know what kind of firewalls are in place, if any, right now and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So,
we have
so-
some, but the whole scope. Karen and I have had conversations about really the technology level here is less than what we came from, and less by generations.
Right, yeah. So
So-
it's gonna
Yes.
be, yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
my feeling too.
So that's why we're looking at new
Right.
front doors. Excuse me, new front door technology. So
And given that, just the yearly $1,800.
As presented there.
These folks, how long a term contract is it? Is that a yearly type situation? In other words, I suspect that as the decade rolls on, prices will drop, competition will rise in this business.
Yeah.
the discussion with this was a 3-year contract at $1,800.
So that's exactly what I'm,
And so obviously what they're doing is basically front loading the services and then having them paid over the next 2 years. Gov office also has pricing that is similar to that, but they typically are upfront. But a lot of them have boilerplates. This is the design, this is the features that comes with it. You populate, we don't.
right.
And that's not unheard of. You know, if you've got the skill set within the office that knows how to populate and build within their designs, great.
Right.
But this is the type of numbers that you're looking at, and I don't know and can't tell you whether in your budget process for FY18 that it was expanded upon enough to understand that this is money you're not used to spending on something that is somewhat vicariously out there.
Right.
You know, some tangible thing you can
Right.
reach out and touch.
That's not a visible asset. Well, it is a visible asset.
It's visible asset,
Right.
you know, just how do you quantify its worth?
Well, that's part of a newer reality we live in as well.
Yes. So
In fact, it is.
it is, you're there,
I mean, bringing, we just spent a fair amount of money on upgrading the computer systems and whatnot, to weight it down with something else that, is a draw on it. It's like having like using a donut spare tire to drive across the
to take
country.
a 10-wheeler?
Exactly.
So,
I mean,
That's-
I think we'll just have to find, look at the options and figure out how we pay for it.
and I like for Putney, I think what feels good is the local startup person who really did the library. And instead of the library following the town follows the library with that and gets a similar looking, because one of the library is, though not, a department of the town, and they've already established this, what I think is an elegant looking path. We have a different need than they do, but if it's the same person, we're gonna get that same feel. That we can expand as they expand.
Right.
We do not need an initial hit, Twitter and Facebook updates and postings immediately. But just, calendar and agendas and being able to click from the calendar and directly go to the agenda. Click from the calendar in the past and directly get the minutes. that type of stuff is nicety stuff.
Mhm.
So, but to give you an idea, this is what you see now with sales pitches, and the sites that they have, I've been and seen, and they are nice. No question. The copier looks like it needs to be replaced, just saying. So that's what I have for that. And I will try to throw in Josh's bin, his copy for that as well. But I think from the historic past, that's a serious chunk of change.
Oh, yeah, no, it's, well, that's,
And like I said, I know that the budget was $2,000 for that, for both email and website updating. All right,
All right, well,
that took care of everything under new.
yeah. And
Nothing.
any old business things we wanna cover tonight, or
Nothing at all.
nothing there? So town managers report.
Okay, 4. Good news, consolidation of banking. With the assistance of People's United Bank and Anita acting in the stead of the treasurer who's not present, we've consolidated all People's United Bank accounts into the managed balanced collateralized account and one HRA checking, which is used for the employees' medical. All other accounts have been closed. We just got today in the mail, or yesterday in the mail, had to be yesterday, Citizens Bank, a single account. That single account has one single signature on it. It's Anita's. And so now that the statement has come, I'll request Anita and I go to the bank and close out that account in the form of a cashier's check and put it in People's United Bank. It should not have just one person's name on it, and that person should be the elected official. So that just happened to be in conversation that I learned that. So it does have the town's federal ID. So that's the last banking account that we will be consolidating.
good.
Okay, the next item.
Finger it out.
Grants in aid projects. At the last meeting, I gave you for information the Tavern Hill project and the High-Low Biddy Road project. Those are done.
Yeah.
Wow.
They look great.
So I talked with Amy from Wyndham Regional. She's gonna come out on Friday and snap some photographs of the finished products. Brian is gonna put together the invoicing and man and material costs for then Wyndham Regional to compile and submit for our reimbursement. If the numbers don't add up to the total amount of the $16,000 that we have been granted with a 20% match, then we are gonna not submit and do more projects. Because we can only submit for reimbursement once.
Okay.
So
Right, so we may not see that as quickly as.
Emily's interpretation is the amount of stone you needed at Ilo Biddy enough is gonna cover 16 grand. So we'll know those numbers when we get them. So we may or may not seek that reimbursement depending upon how those numbers work out. But what's astonishing is to have the projects identified and in less than 3 weeks, both of them be done. That's a good compliment to the highway guys for getting that done. They will be working tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. on Westminster Road to replace a culvert that is between Sand Hill and the top of Kimball. And so they are aware, school buses will be traveling, people will be traveling, may have to traverse Sand Hill in the morning, hopefully be done by the afternoon, that's what their intention is. They also probably will shut down between 7:45 and possibly up to 9 o'clock so that they can keep traffic flow for the school. Because there's just gonna be people clogged on Kimball Hill, they're aware of it. What other choice do we have? None, so if you're watching, great, but you're not watching live, so. The board, if you get phone calls, that's what's going on there. Then, Old Depot Road Pump Station. There was an adjustment made to the plans. This was relative to the Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust. was gonna change out units that were in that pump station at the end of the road. And there's a forced 4-inch main that goes into that. When they started working, they figured out they had to move the unit, just a matter of inches. And so, the inlet for the forced main that goes through there, you can't put an elbow in it, you can't cut it and restructure it. So what they did is they dug back down away from the structure far enough that they could flex the pipe to where they needed it.
Oh,
So our as-built is no longer as is.
Straight around the corner.
It's somewhere at a distance anywhere from 3 feet to,
Right. It's a fact.
to
That
dead back
that
on.
makes sense, that's,
But that was a decision made between Simon's Operations, Stevens and Associates, Joe and Mason Brothers and Wright Construction to make that decision of how best to address that. So our as-builts now are not reflective. This project will have on its plans what changed,
okay.
okay? Next item, 2018.
yep.
The reports you have are updated as of the warrants you are signing tonight. Nothing stands out that's erratic, out of line, out of place. They are down to the bottom. Again, you have the balance sheets, and you have the suppressed budget status, income, and expense statements for general fund, highway fund, water fund, wastewater fund. Those are the only funds that are the primary work. So, you can peruse those if you wish and contact me if you got any questions. But we are still in good stead. I would remind the public that wastewater and water bills are due October 31st. And that on or under about November 17th, the second installment of property taxes are due. Feel free to pay early. And yes, we will cash your checks.
Yeah, posting.
Then you got warrants.
Yeah, so,
And you
Sorry.
sign them. Just need an order to
Yeah.
approve orders, bills, and warrants as presented?
yeah, how is that? Is that a motion
That's a
Yep,
motion,
that's a
yep.
motion, I hear. Yeah.
to
Approve orders, bills, and warrants as presented.
orders, bills, and warrants as presented?
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sign away.
Everybody gets paid this week?
Karen will note what the numbers are and amounts are in the minutes. And again, the AP warrant of 177, 94,000 of that is the West Hill paving that came in. $94,000 worth of paving.
Which they did a
Great.
quick and pretty speedy, nice job of that.
Yeah, that really was done to level it.
Yeah, no,
It wasn't a perfect overlay of 2.5 inches everywhere. In some places, I'm sure it was more, and
it's,
some places less.
it's
But
pretty smooth.
and it sheets off,
Right,
which is the whole goal, is to sheet water off.
yeah. No, it looks good.
So what was the repairs? What do they do to repair the dam?
The dam is the annual clean out of the dam.
Yeah.
So 50% of that bill is paid by Soundview, 50% paid by the town. So the gate is open and the dam is drained. Then the town payloader and Soundview's payloader go in and take out all of the sediment that has gone in behind the dam, down to what is actually ledge, all the way down to the bottom. Then the dam itself had some structural repair done that was at the surface level. Some of it as deep as 6 inches.
Oh.
So they had brought in properly structured concrete that had to be mixed and put on the dam. The highway crew worked with the assistance of the contractors there to spread that out. The highway crew ended up, several of them put in 3 to 4 hours of overtime on one day to try to finish the project in one day. It was noted by Chief Goddard that Soundview was pressing to get the pipe full back of water as soon as possible for them to be in operation, but at this point, they need to be put on notice that if they're gonna have our highway guys work overtime, that's gonna be added cost to them. Did not happen this year, but, so that's what that project happens. It's an event that happens every 2 years, and it is budgeted within the fire department's budget as it is a water supply for the fire department.
Right.
And so it's to the benefit of both Soundview and to the town to have a storage capacity.
Yeah.
Any others? You have a question on that?
No, I just, I saw the concrete fill in there, I was kinda curious. And then it said some of the fire, at the fire station, I get it now.
Yeah, it's in the fire budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So-
Not at all, it's good, yeah.
What they may try to do 2 years from now is actually put an aggregate over the whole thing and seal it. It goes on more like a paint, like a grout mix. And it would seal the whole face of it. Because right now what's happening is a little piece of concrete will break free and then the water will work its
Freeze.
magic.
Yeah, freeze and
Amazing
thaw,
stuff.
freeze and thaw, yeah.
So I think that's what they want to look into is I think it's granite or something like that. They want to put on it. All right.
All right, anything else?
No, I just got a few things I want to bring you up to date on.
Okay.
There's a meeting tomorrow night at the Brattleboro Selectmen's Meeting Room, 6 to 8 p.m. It is put on by the Secretary of State, Jim Condos, on government transparency. And it's basically a presentation that revolves around what are public records and what are open meeting law requirements. In the event that, you want to go and learn from the guy who gets asked the questions when people think that you've done something wrong.
All right. What time is this at?
6 to 8 p.m., Brattleboro Select Board, meeting room.
Right.
And then on October 18th, at the Putney Fire Station, and in your packets of information there is a Better Back Roads presentation of the municipal road grants relative to the Clean Water Act. A presentation will be done there. If you're available, it's an interesting quandary of what the rules are relative to what we have to make an inventory of by June 30 of 2020, or if we have to plan to complete. My discussions with Brian today were, he thinks we have 90% of our roads are okay, and there's 10% that are just a pain that we have to do this to. And so there's no reason for us to wait for the compliancy until 2027. We'll put it in our plans to prepare budgets and do it now. There are also grants available now for that inventory to take place. And our belief is that we may have already applied for and been awarded a grant to do that erosion control study for the roads. So those are the meetings that are hanging on and taking place. Did I miss anything else? Relative to banking, I think for the first time, we are going to pay the Series 2016-2 Municipal Bond Bank, which was refinancing of 3 bonds that the community had. We're gonna pay on November 1st via ACH.
Wow.
What?
That's quite a
Yes. So this will be on the warrant preceding November 1st. So the next warrant that we have, you'll see this on the warrant, but the money won't leave our account. It will leave by ACH and be there on the 1st instead of issuing a check. That is by far the new standard for making large payments like this. Yeah. So we are on a roll with that. And one last item you can pass down through. I'm not familiar with this organization, but there is an invite to the select board to an open house from Valley Cares in town that came to the board. There's a meeting that night, so I can't. I had a meeting that night for another board.
Yeah, right.
So, unless there's additional cupcakes, Rice Krispie cakes, apple pie,
Brownies, I got a couple here for
Brownies.
coffee in the morning.
All right, looks good. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We did not have a reason for an executive session.